All right. So, guys, project management for kids. Now, that itself is wrong. I know you guys are not kids anymore, but then still. So, this is the overall the title or this the agenda for the day. What we plan to take. A little about myself. That Akhila has already said that, so I wouldn't take much on this. I'm in technical manager with Velorum Reply, which is an IT-based company in Smart City in Kochi. We've been here, I've been in the industry for over 15 years now, and quite a lot of time at Velorum Reply itself. And you find me online in the following spaces, but unfortunately not on Facebook or other platforms. I'm there on LinkedIn and Twitter if it makes sense. All right, so what are we going to do today? I hope you go away, you have these key takeaways that I hope you will learn today: how to achieve your goals, how to plan ahead, how to make a plan, how to follow it, how to adjust to changes in that plan, how to probably make the best use of your time and your money. And how we plan to do all of this is no self development talk. We plan to discuss project management principles, which you will see has got a lot of application in your daily life, in the future, in your work life, and actually in your personal and professional lives as well, and see how that fits in. This will be interesting. So let's get started. If you kind of think about this, the whole world runs on projects. Every day of our lives, our very own lives itself, yours and mine, is a mega project. It's a huge master project. It's just made up of a lot of hundreds and thousands of short-term and long-term projects. And daily we run projects. We're just not cognizant of that, perhaps, but we do run projects on a daily basis. So if it's school students, you run projects by the name. You can have your science fair project. If you've done your AIP or your art integration project, those are the projects. You have your experiments in your science lab. So you have different kinds of projects that you do. Tomorrow, when you have a work life, you'd have, depending on the stream that you would take, you would have projects there. It could be construction projects, it could be IT projects. But life in itself has got different kinds of projects. Like you are going to, for example, make a garden. So that's planting a garden. So that may be a project. So let me not give you ideas. Let me ask you, what projects have been part of your life? If you want to use the chat window, or if you want to quickly unmute and use the mic and say as well, I'm good. What do you think some of the projects that you have done in the recent past, or even in a short while back? Anything, if anyone would like to share? Okay, I will. Yes, Amana, gardening, that is correct.
Ma'am,
So
cooking is a type of
cooking,
project.
yeah, it depends on what you are cooking as well, but great answer. Thank you for saying that. Anyone else? Okay, so let's move on. These are examples of everyday projects. The obvious, yes, you're designing room, Amana, great again. Examples of everyday projects. I expected at least a few of you to say working on your class project assignment. I'm really happy you did not, because that's the most obvious. If you think about it, meal planning, like you said, and planning a party or a fundraiser or even a vacation, you want to renovate your room or your furniture, or maybe tomorrow even developing a business plan, they are all everyday projects. Again, there are far more complex projects like constructing a building or a bridge. And if you kind of think about it historically, when we started, the world runs on projects, we said. If you take everything from the pyramids in Gaza to the Burj Khalifa in Delhi to, in Dubai, to our Kochi Metro project, to even the vaccination project that is now being run by the government, there is an operational part of it, but the actual initiative in launching that vaccination project was a huge effort, of course, for different governments and across the globe as well. So different kinds of projects at a global level, and those are far, far more complex projects. One of the things I will probably make a point here is we've been talking about projects and projects for a while now. What exactly is a project, or what really makes all of these a projects? Every project, if you kind of look at it, whatever we've discussed as far, and even those on the screen right now, each project has a definite start and a definite end. So there is a start point and there's an end point, and it produces a unique result. There is a unique outcome or a product as a result of that project. You think about it, you plan your meal, at the end of it, you have a meal. So you plan a bridge project, at the end of it, you have a bridge. So there must be some outcome of that project. Regular, repeated, routine work is not a project. So let's see if we get that right. So your turn now. Which of these are projects? We'll do this one by one. Please use the chat window. Moving into a new home. Is that a project? Yes or no? What do you think?
Yes.
Correct. So that is a new project. That is a project. Brushing your teeth every night. Is that a project?
No. No.
Why is that not a project? Sarah.
It is not temporary, ma'am. It is a routine that we have.
Exactly. It is routine. It is repeated work, not necessarily a project. Good point. Writing a research paper.
It is a project.
Yes. Yes, you're right. It is a project. Answering the telephone, or maybe your phone, your mobile phone, let me say. No. Correct, Arya. It is not a project. So you get the idea, right? So you go ahead with a clear understanding of what a project is and what is not a project. Great. Now let's start building something. I know you started your vacations today, and this is a perfect time for this. I thought about what project we could do today, this Saturday evening. I was half-heartedly, I thought we'd do a project to plan a vacation, but probably a wrong time to go on a vacation right now. So maybe next year, hopefully, if we meet, we will do a vacation planning project. This time, maybe we'll do something a little more subtle, so we stay indoors and we stay safe, and we take care of ourselves and our family. Let's see if any of you would be interested in doing this home project. So before that, I would, so this is the home project that I was thinking. I don't know how many of you would be interested in renovating your room over the vacation, to just kind of like, oh, you just did, Amana, that's great. Actually, a couple of them did. I heard during the last pandemic, because you're spending a lot of time in your room these days, spending a lot of time with yourself. So I thought it'd be a pretty cool idea to maybe give your personality to the room, give itself a unique identity, something that you feel very special to yourself. And just because we spend a lot of time indoors, yeah. So let's see. In case you want to paint your room, so this is the project that we're going to take for the rest of our discussion for today. Before that, I'd like you to meet one of my friends. Her name is Maria, and so she just completed this room painting project recently. So Maria is here with us to sort of help us and get us through with the discussion. So she can actually share what her problems were in actually painting the room, so we can do this. But feel free to put yourself in Maria's shoes, and let's do this. All right, so let's start. So before we actually start with painting the room, let's identify, or let's meet a couple of people here. So there are 3 people basically that we need to know, we need to meet. And first, the project manager. So project manager is the person who is in charge of the project. Like, he is in complete control here, complete responsibility. So the sponsor is the person who cares about the project. Let's make it a little more simple. The sponsor is the person who would sponsor your project, would give you the money and the funds and the resources and whatever you need for your project. Keep in mind, we're doing the painting project. You are painting our room, right? The last one is the stakeholder. So stakeholder means anyone who will be impacted by your projects. By you painting your room, think about who are the other people who will be impacted by your project. So those will be your stakeholders. Shall we start filling in the blanks here? So who do you think will be the project manager? So who do you think is in charge of the, so you are painting your room, okay? Each one of you is painting your room, your respective rooms. Who do you think is project manager? You're right, Amana. You are the project manager for this project. Congratulations, you just started your first project. That's great. So for in Maria's case, she was actually the project manager for her particular project. Yes, Najib, you're right. Sponsors. Who do you think would be the sponsors for your project? You want to paint. Yeah, you're right. Your parents. Good guess. You need to get your parents on your side because they are the ones who are going to sponsor this project for you. Stakeholders. This is tricky. Who do you think will be impacted by the painting of your room? If you paint your room, do you think there's anyone else you need to think about, you need to bring into the picture? Anyone who would be impacted, who would be concerned about, you painting your room, who would be affected? Anyone? What are your thoughts on that? Yes, you and your parents, definitely. If there's anyone else living in your house, do you think they will be affected? Anyone who's living in the other rooms, like your brother, yes, your sister, your siblings, if you have a help at home. Have you, I don't know the last time you've been to a place that's actually been painted. Have you, can you recollect the smell of the paint? And I don't know how, some people like the smell, but most people don't, I'm trying to say. So I don't know how your siblings you love the smell. That's good for you. So I know, like, it's like, I usually wind up my car glasses when I, when they refill the petrol, but I know a lot of people actually like the petrol smell. So that's great. So Vaishali would probably not have a problem with stakeholders, but usually you would need to get your siblings on your side, because I don't know how they're going to take the fact that your parents have given you full permission to go ahead with this project, right? So you've talked to your parents, you've got them on your side, you've got a budget, you've got the money, you've got the permission, everything, but you need to keep your siblings and everyone else in the house also happy. If they complain, it's like loud music and the neighbors. If they complain that, this is a complete inconvenience for us, it's going to be a little tricky, right? So just telling you now, who are the people that we need to have in the room? Perfect. So now you're the project manager. This is exciting. One of the things that we need as project managers, just like every other person, just like the carpenter needs his hammer, just like the painter needs his brushes, one of the things we would need as project managers, we would need a set of skills, knowledge, tools, techniques, whatever it is to do our project. That is what we call project management. Simple, that's all. Whatever you have in terms of your project knowledge, your skills, tools, techniques, all of that, that is what is called a project management. Whatever processes that a project manager follows, that is your project management. Done. Now you may ask, why do I need to follow a process? I mean, I'm a project manager. I can just paint my room as I wish, right? So why do I need a process? Why do I have to follow project management? I know this. I got this. I can do this. So of course you can do that. I mean, it's up to you. But I think if you follow a known approach, a set approach, a time-tested approach, your success rates will be immensely high. People before you, people in this era as well, for hundreds of years have been following these project management processes and these approaches. Think about all the projects that we discussed this far, including historic projects, right? So they've been following structured project management methodologies, and that is what we are going to learn right now. So you are at the disposal of these skills and techniques that you may use for painting your project. Now, off the bat, you might think, well, what is there in painting a project? I just go painting a room. I mean, you just go in and just paint. Now you'll see how much you actually need to think while painting a room. So Maria, help me here. These are the processes, 5 processes that we typically talk about in a project management scenario. First, we initiate. So initiate is nothing. You just start the project, right? You decide that you're going to do it. Once you decide, you determine how to do it. So that's your planning phase. You need to plan a lot of things here and there. And third, is execution. You actually go ahead and just do it. So that's where the work gets done, the execution phase. You might think after execution, it's close, it's done, we have our goals. One more thing there, we have to monitor and control. And we see how we're going to go into details of all of this. Monitor and control is because you remember you planned. Things don't go always according to plan. So you need to adapt, you need to change if need be. And then finally, we're going to close. Cool? Any questions thus far? All right, we're moving ahead. Let's start. So we are going to paint our rooms, okay? First up, initiate. So this is where you decide to do it. When you decide to do something, you have to ask yourself quite a few questions. I will put it the 5 W's and the 1 H. So that's called you got to ask yourself, what is this project? Why am I doing this project? For whom am I doing this project? Where is this being done? When is this being done? And how is this being done? So those are just like major things you have to ask yourself. First of all, I would encourage you to sit down and just think about this whole thing. Think about it. Why do you want to do the project? So someone said that they've already painted their room. Can you tell me, why did you paint your room? Or anyone for that matter can just unmute the mic and say, why do you want to paint your room? Please don't tell me because I said so. Anything other than that, please, guys. Because I needed a change in my room. Worthy cause, I totally agree. I'm just bored with the same colors and the same hues. Who does not want to change? Variety is spice of life. It was boring. I totally agree. I would love to have a change. I don't know if your parents are going to buy that and give you budget for moving boredom, but then that is the most honest answer. Yeah. I would encourage you, write it down. Write down all the answers to the questions, including the why and the business case and everything. Write it down. That's what we call project charter. After you create a project charter, most important part, reach agreement. You have to reach an agreement with the stakeholders involved over there, especially your sponsors, because get the commitment from them that they will give you the money and the supplies. Yeah. So let's see what your project charter is going to look like. This is a very simplified version of this. Real life project charters would be very elaborate, but you get the idea. So you would have your project name, you would have your project manager, put your name there. If this is your 5th or 6th project, you can put your tracking number. Justification. Purpose of the project is to ensure that my room is beautifully painted within a reasonable budget. You can say, I was pretty bored with the existing room and I just needed a change. Totally fine. So whatever your project justification is, put it there. Put in the name of your sponsors. You can put in stakeholders, all those. Every detail comes into your project charter. Great. We are past the initiate stage. 1 down, 4 to go. Planning. This is a little tedious. Please bear with me. I will try to make this as simple and as quick as possible. Planning is determining how to do it, but it's very tedious because there's a lot of things you need to plan for. Again, I said off the bat, you might think, I just go into a room and I just put 4 people there to paint my room, but you will see how so much you need to actually plan for. Let me share a real life example with you guys. Again, I'm yet to find a project manager in real life who's not gone through this situation before. And trust me, guys, this has happened to me. It's happened to almost every other project manager. So typically, this is how the customer explains it. Or let's say this is how the team understands what the customer has explained. Okay. The swing as it needs to be built. This is how the customer explains it. This is what the team ended up building. You see the difference there? What the customer explained and what the team built. Okay. Now here's the fun part. This is what the customer really wanted. But by the time he explained it or she explained it, that's what the team understood. And this is what the team ended up building. And then finally you come and you deliver the result and you said, oh, so this is what you wanted in the first place. So where's the gap? The gap is you need to clearly plan for scope, meaning you need to define what the project's output is. Very clear, plain English terms, try to very clearly communicate, set expectations. This is what I want. I want a room that is beautifully painted. You might say, Blue. What blue? Lilac blue, Alice blue, navy blue, what blue? So collect your requirements very, very carefully. And once you've done that, you just organize your work. Don't worry about the WPS work breakdown structure. That term, just don't look at it right now. We come to that. Okay. So let's see. What are you going to do with regards to your bed, your room? Your project output, clear. You want to paint the bedroom. Ceiling is going to be white flat. The wall is going to be blue satin. Constraints. There might be constraints on how you want your work done. Like painting will happen only 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. guys. And work needs to be completed within 2 weeks. Empty cans need to be disposed. Leftover paint should be saved for the owner. You can put in as much details as possible, but plan for what your output and your constraints will be. This is the WBS or the work breakdown structure we were talking about. You think about it, or at a very high level, you might think just painting room, but just look at the work streams below. Preparation, just preparation alone includes you have to select the colors. You might probably ask the shopkeeper for a palette. You might spend time to, find out which is your favorite color in that, purchase the materials, prep your room. They apply the paint itself, apply first coat, apply second coat. After that, the most tedious portion, cleaning up the rooms. You clean the room, dispose of the waste, maybe even install new furniture. So there's, you get the idea. So there's just lot of work. What are you doing? Painting the room. But even within painting the room, just so much work that we need to. So you're breaking down the work. So that's work breakdown structure. We plan the scope. Now we're going to plan the time. So in time, those work breakdown structures, we're going to again divide it into activities. Each activity, we will put them in sequence. We will put the time. We will put them into a schedule. And I'll show you how. See, first activity, we're going to remove the furniture from the room. So you need space for the furniture. You're going to take the furniture out of your bedroom. You need to put it somewhere else, right? You need to put it either in your sister's room or your brother's room. You need to put that. Labor will be 1 hour for that, minimum. You need to clean the walls. You need your bucket, sponge, water, soap, whatnot for that. Labor 1 hour for that. You repair the holes in your wall. You need to cover areas that are not being painted. So lot of activities. We're going to break it down, break it down, break it down. You get the idea. And then you put the activities in a sequence because one cannot be done before the other, right? So before you paint, you need to scrub the walls. You need to use the sandpaper. You need to clean it. Only after that can you paint. You cannot do it the reverse order. So schedule or sequence of activities is very important. So you get the idea. So we plan for scope. We plan for the activities. Now we're going to plan for the cost. Very simple. The activities that we did previously, we're just going to put cost for that. So removing the furniture, how much is it going to cost me? Cleaning the walls, how much is it going to cost me? Repair the holes in the wall, how much is it going to cost me? You have to plan the cost. You have to plan for quality. Now, quality is very important because most project managers, you forget about quality. You appoint 4 painters and you say, bhai, go and paint, and he will paint. And then after that, as an afterthought, you will think about quality. And this happens in real life as well. Now, the meaning of quality itself changes for different people. It depends on the project. Now, depending on if it's a vaccination project or a space project by NASA, it depends what the meaning of quality is. So what is quality for you? You're going to paint a project. Now, you're planning for quality, all right? You're saying my walls should be smooth. So what should you be doing? You should inspect the walls before painting. There's no point in inspecting the walls after painting. Before the painting, you should ensure that your walls are smooth, correct? And then so you plan for quality. You plan that you have good quality, smooth walls. Now, this is open for you, your turn. The paint should cover the old color. How can you plan for that? How do you ensure that the paint is properly and evenly covering the walls and it's like very well painted? How do you plan for that? Anyone? Yes, Neeraj. I can't hear you if you are attempting to say something, Neeraj. Sorry. Okay. Anyone else? How do you ensure that the paint is covering the old color? You inspect after each and every coat. After first coat, you go and inspect. After second coat, you go and inspect. The carpet should be free of damage. No compromise on the existing stuff. Your wardrobe should not be colored. Your table lamp should not be colored. Your carpets and rugs should be intact. How do you ensure that it is free of damage from paint? You cover the carpet and you inspect it at the end of the job also. Make sure that there is no loss of quality over there. So that's how you plan for quality. Risk you must plan for. Again, I'll just make this very clear. You're not planning to have risks. You are planning to avoid risk in the project. And why you're planning for risk is, if you know about a risk, you can actually handle it. You might think in a project as small as this is a fairly simple project. It's just painting my room. What possible risk could, just happen there? What if your paint does not cover well? What if the existing paint of your room was a very dark color and what you're trying to put now is a very light tone or something of that sort? What if it doesn't cover the old color? So what do you do there? Try a sample paint and try it somewhere ahead of time and see if it actually works out. What if the paint eventually gets onto the carpet or any of your furniture? Plan to have drop clothes, plan to have emergency cleaning supplies nearby you so that you can act immediately. What if you run out of paint? Identify the nearest paint store and keep it with you so you can run for supplies if need be. Similarly, you plan for purchasing. So planning for purchasing, again, it's easy to think you have to plan for purchasing. So just write your shopping list and go. You probably don't need to buy everything. See, for painting, you need ladder, you need brushes, you need paint. Why can't we just rent a ladder? We might not need to. Save yourself that much money. You don't have to buy it. Ask your painters what will they come with. If they bring half of the tools, you don't have to buy all of that. So there might be things you can hire, you can rent, you can buy. It depends. Now, plan for people. One of the most important plans I will tell you. The success of any project will depend on how good your people are. If you have a super team with you, you can make sure that your project is going to go very, very smoothly. And most importantly, how you motivate and reward your team. It's quite funny if you kind of think about it. Even now, my mom does it. I'm sure all of our moms do it. When we have helpers at home, and especially carpenters or gardeners or painters, we always have little snacks and then tea and everything that will happen at 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. It's just it's not a reward. It's just an appreciation to keep them motivated, and then share some good laughs and times. You are very passionate about your room, but you need to make sure your team is equally passionate to turn up every day to paint your room, right? So, okay, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to explain this. Let's see if you understand this. I'll give you a minute to look at that thing, that table on the screen. It's called the responsibility assignment matrix. And if I may ask, so I have 4 painters, okay? Joe, Bo, Mo, Ro. I know, not very creative names, but still. So who do you think is in charge of painting the room? Who among the 4 people, Joe, Bo, Mo, Ro, is in charge of painting the room? Bo. Correct. Arya and everyone who said that, you're right. And if for those who are guessing, if you note the intersection of those rows where I have marked X, you see that Bo is in charge of painting the room. One more question, so everyone gets a shot at this. Who is in charge of clearing the rooms? Sorry. Who is in charge of clearing the rooms? Correct, Joshua. Joe. Yes, Ritika. Joe is in charge of clearing the room. So you get the idea. So you assign the activities and let your people know you have to do this, you have to do this. Otherwise, you'll have 4 painters painting your room and no one clearing the room. So that's the confusion. Again, there are so many ways you can assign the responsibilities. Responsibility assignment matrix, or RAM, is just one of the several ways, just for your information. All right. My favorite part, I must tell you this, because a 90% of a project manager's life goes with communication. And there is, if something has to go wrong, it will go wrong only in communication. Trust me on this, guys. Any project manager, you ask Hari or Akhila or Jay Kishore, they'll vouch for this. If we get the communication right, we will almost always have done it. If we get it wrong, most probably it's the communication that we have got wrong. And communication is probably the most important fact in this. I will, without giving you a lot of preaching on this, I will tell you a story. Okay. Okay. Before that, there are different kinds of communication. There is written, there is verbal, there is verbal, non-verbal, formal, informal. What is verbal and non-verbal? Can you give me an example of a non-verbal communication? Verbal, we understand, right? So like what I'm doing right now, that's verbal. What is an example of a non-verbal communication? Like expressions, body language, face expressions, tone, all that is also, yes, signs, yes, correct. So those are all expressed. So you have different modes of communication. Just know. Get to the story. Okay, so let me tell you the story of A380 bus. If anyone knows this, please bear with me. I'll take just 2 minutes to say this. Okay, so this is not a very recent one, but one of the much discussed stories when you talk about project management failures. So when Airbus, as you know, is one of the most respected companies in terms of creating aircraft carriers, when they wanted to build the A380, at that point in time, there was not a bigger and a more ambitious project in the world, because the A380 bus was supposed to be one of the biggest in terms of magnitude with what they had at that time versus what they were going to create. It was supposed to be a huge turnout. Now, I'll show you what their plan was. This is interesting. This is how they planned it, okay? They planned that the French would produce the cockpit. This is a European plan. The French would produce the cockpit, the control systems, etc. The British would make the wings. The Germans would take care of the rear and the forward sections. The Dutch would make all the moving parts, the wings, flags, all that. The Spanish would be in charge of the horizontal tail plane. And they said, after you guys build your respective stuff, bring it to the German engineers and we'll put it all together. How's that for a plan? So a truly global program, ambitious, international, great job. Problem? When these people were building these components in the different countries, they took all their good time to do that, and over years, finally, when they brought it for assembling, some wires are short, some wires are long. These parts just don't fit together. Basically, you can't make an aircraft out of it. Result, it took over $6 billion to repair the cost of whatever they have done thus far. And the project was delayed for more than 2 years. They eventually got it out, A380. They sold it to, I think, Singapore Airlines was the first one to get that A380. They got it out, but this was what happened to that project. Why? Communication gap between the project teams that worked in these different countries, different languages, different areas. Everyone that had their own way of doing things, their own way of building things. There was a complete lack of communication. And this is why we need to plan for communication when we are painting a room. Not so bad, but at least when we paint a room, think about the kind of communications you want to do upfront. As a project manager, you're the project manager, right? At least first, the very first time that you meet your team, frequency, just once, write it, give them a written communication, give them the full description of the painting job, like exactly what do you want your room to be. Then on a daily basis, just orally, you can talk to your team. In the morning, you can, plan, okay, guys, what are we going to do today? Evening, just sync with them. Okay, how did it go? What are the updates? Any issues, any problem? Is the paint running out? Are we, any problems, etc. So that is about very small things, but keeping that communication strategy will make sure that you're on track. Okay, I know, long topic, planning, but we plan for scope, time, cost, quality, risk, purchasing, people, communication, integrated. We have a plan in place, guys. Cool. All right. So this is where we are going to do this. We are going to execute. So execution is rather simple. You have a plan, just follow it. This is where you're actually going to paint. So you follow your plan and you produce the output. It's as simple as that. So having a good plan actually makes your execution easier now that you know that. From your project manager perspective, just follow that plan. Just make sure your team is doing, whatever you have planned out, just make sure your team is doing it. They're all in sync, you're doing the communication, etc. Others will do their respective job. The team, the project team, they will do the work, they will do the painting. The sponsors will give you money, keep giving you money. And your stakeholders, just keep informing your siblings and whoever comes to your home that, you might have guests that turn up, you might have visitors that come up your home, you might have a help, just there's a painting that is happening, please don't worry, we'll be done in a few days and stay cooperative. That's it. So that's execution. Just plan, just go by the plan. So perform all the planned activities, that is execution. Okay, cool. So shall we then close the project then? Now that execution is over, I'm pretty sure that, the painting and the job is done. So how about closing? So Maria says there's one more thing that you need to do. You need to monitor and control. And we see why. Planning is great, as we already discussed. We must definitely plan. But we all know, and in our little life experiences thus far, that plans can change. There will be changes to plan. And then there's nothing actually to worry about it. It's okay. I think the most important thing here is to be alert. If you are alert, you will recognize changes that are happening. If you're not alert, you will not see any changes that are happening. I'll show you some of the changes, right? You remember the plans we had created. We created elaborate plans. Let's see. We had planned for cost. But during the execution, we see that we are spending too much money, much more than what your parents actually gave you. Recognize it is a change to your cost plan. Work, we had planned activities. We had planned what to do, the schedule. But sometimes work can be behind schedule. Recognize this is not what I planned. My schedule is falling back. The result may not be good. My walls are not turning out smooth. That's not what I had in mind. It is a change to my quality plan. You call up your painter, and this happens to everyone. You call up your painter one day morning, he doesn't turn up. He may not even respond to your calls. That is not the communication plan that I had in mind. Your supplies are not received. You don't have the paint to start painting. Your purchasing plan is out. So recognize, or that recognition is the first step towards that. Once you recognize, you just need to uncover the cost. There might be various reasons. Maybe a person needed to taken off that day. Maybe it's a hartal. Maybe I don't know why he's not attending the call. So there must be reasons. You get to the bottom of it. Then next, once you get to the bottom of it, you decide what to do about it. There must be something you can do about it, right? And adjust your plan. It's perfectly okay to adjust your plan. A plan can be changed. There can be plans that can be changed. There's no worries about that. Just execute per your adjusted plans. It's not like we created all those 8 plans, we signed and sealed it, and it will never change in history again. Not so. As you execute, you might have reasons to go back and change your plans. Please change your plans. You go and tell your father that's actually, I know I asked you for so much amount of money, mom, but it looks like inflation and budget and constraints. Can I have a little more money, please? Perfectly fine. But they give it as a different idea, but I'm just telling you that is a change to your cost plan. You can ask for that. Okay. So long story cut short, when things change, don't panic. Follow the process and just control the change. If you observe, if you're alert, if you recognize the change, you can control the change. So opening it up for you now, your turn. This will be very interesting. So let's say you begin painting and you find that the walls are covered with very difficult to remove wallpaper. What are you going to do? Did you understand? You're coming to paint, or your painters are actually coming to paint. And we thought, okay, let's say we haven't planned for this, have we? We have not planned for this in the recent slide. So this is completely out of context. They come, okay, we've planned everything. And then they're like, ma'am, sir, there is this wallpaper on this and it's not coming out as well. Now, what do we do about it? We found out the root cause of the issue. Correct, sir. Correct only. But I'm just saying, you think about it. I don't know what you're going to decide to do about it, but I'm just giving you, you might think, again, painting a room, what could possibly go wrong? one of your painters will come and say, this roller is not a great idea. My paintbrush is there. That also the small one, the tiny one, very accurate. I prefer using that. That is what I've been using all my life. Does an excellent job. Why don't we use that? How are you going to control that change? This is a very senior, experienced painter in your district, okay? He comes and tells you, and I refuse to use your roller, which will get the work done in 2 weeks. He wants to use his artist brush for painting, and that also the tiniest one. Communication, team problem. You ran out of paint on a weekend and your entire team is sitting in your garden enjoying your mom's tea. If you don't get them paint, you will lose 2 days. What are you going to do about it? I'm not trying to overwhelm you and to back you out of your painting job, guys. I'm just telling you, you think about the kind of issues that can actually, then these are real world issues. If this happens, what do? Don't panic. We control the change. Sometimes we might need to go with the flow. Sometimes we might need to go back and change the plan, which is perfectly okay. All right, assuming we have survived all of that and we have reached thus far as Maria did, the last step to cross the finish line. We're going to wrap it up. We confirm that the project is finished. We collect the records and we satisfy the stakeholders. Let me explain that bit. All right, so this is going to be a final showdown, okay? Confirm that the project is finished. Your painters have done 2 weeks of work. They're going to come back and say, sir, ma'am, this is done. You're going to go in, you're going to verify every nook and corner and make sure that the room is painted well. First, so you confirm that the project is finished. Second, you collect records. It's usually a good idea to make notes of whatever has happened. This may not be your last project. Think about it. If you do a great job on this, your dad and mom can maybe assign, painting the kitchen to you tomorrow, maybe your sister's room to you tomorrow. So this may just be the starters. It might be a good idea to write down all that you learned. I brought the paint from this shop. It cost me so much. That guy was a big pain in the team. He was not the kind of person, etc., etc. You can write down. So just take notes and collect those records for futuristic sakes. Confirm that all stakeholders are satisfied. I hope your parents are satisfied. They're the ones who shelled out the money on this. I hope your brother and sister is happy. I hope your family, everyone is happy with it. Make sure your team is happy. There's no outstanding accounts. You paid everyone. They give them a tip. Everyone is happy. Take care of all the leftover paint and everything is back to normal. No inconvenience for everyone. Don't forget to celebrate. Celebration is the most important part for any project. Small, big, short, large, whoever it is. I think project closing is all about celebration. And there's no project that should close without a celebration. Yeah? Interesting. Maria celebrated, so she was actually pretty stoked about how her room turned out to be. And I hope you do that as well. Okay. So here's summarizing it all. Initiate was about deciding what to do about it, and planning was determining how to do it. Execution was actually doing it. Monitoring, controlling was adapting to change, and closing was wrapping it up. So that's where putting it all together. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that narrative, because that brings us to the end of this session. Let's see how we're doing on time. Oh boy, am I right on time here. All right. So I will open it up for Q&A. I'm happy to hear from you. Any questions, comments, anything you'd like to discuss, any feedback you'd like to share, over to you.